What if the thing blocking your path was your path? I've sat with that question for weeks now, ever since I picked up The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. And I'll be honest, I didn't expect a book rooted in ancient Stoic philosophy, in the words of Marcus Aurelius and the discipline of perception, to hit me as hard as it did. But here we are. Because Ryan Holiday didn't just write a self-help book. He wrote something that feels closer to a manual for being human. I came into this expecting something motivational, something punchy. A few quotes from Marcus Aurelius, some modern success stories wrapped in ancient wisdom, and a tidy conclusion telling me to push harder. And yes, some of that is here. But what surprised me was how uncomfortable this book made me feel in the best possible way. Holiday opens with a provocation that stops you cold. What stands in the way becomes the way. It's a line drawn from Marcus Aurelius, Rome's philosopher-emperor, a man who ruled an empire while quietly journaling reflections that would outlast his throne by 2,000 years. And Holiday uses that single idea as the spine of everything that follows. The book explores what it actually means to practice Stoicism, not as an abstract philosophy you admire from a distance, but as a lived discipline. A set of trained responses to the chaos life throws at you. Holiday organizes his thinking around 3 core disciplines: perception, action, and will. And he builds his case through stories. Real people, real failures, real reversals of fortune turned into fuel. By the time I finished the introduction, I wasn't just curious anymore. I was invested. Because Holiday wasn't writing about some idealized version of resilience. He was writing about the kind most of us will actually need. What struck me first, and what I kept returning to, was Holiday's treatment of perception. The discipline of perception, as he frames it, isn't about seeing the world through rose-colored glasses. It's something sharper and more demanding than that. It's about learning to see clearly, without panic, without the distortion that fear or ego layers over reality. He writes about how our first response to an obstacle is almost always emotional. We contract, we catastrophize, we make the problem bigger inside our minds than it is in front of us. And that contraction, he argues, is where most people lose, not to the obstacle itself, but to their interpretation of it. That reframe landed hard for me. I started thinking about situations in my own life where I'd turned friction into catastrophe simply through the story I chose to tell about it. Holiday doesn't let you off the hook with that insight. He pushes further. Then comes the discipline of action, and this is where the book shifts into something almost kinetic. Holiday fills these pages with stories. Thomas Edison watching his factory burn to the ground and calling it an educational experience. Ulysses S. Grant, hemmed in on all sides during the Civil War, simply finding another angle. Amelia Earhart taking a back seat on a flight she'd hoped to lead and choosing to show up anyway. What unites all of them is a refusal to wait for better conditions, a bias toward movement, toward doing something, even when the something is imperfect, even when the path forward is narrow and uncertain. What I loved most was how Holiday never romanticizes this. He's not telling you obstacles are secretly gifts in disguise. He's telling you they don't have to stop you. That's a meaningfully different claim, and a more honest one. And then there's the discipline of will. This is the quietest section of the book, and the one that I found most personally meaningful. Because if perception is about how we see, and action is about what we do, then will is about who we become in the process of enduring. Holiday brings in the concept of Amor Fati, love of fate, the Stoic idea of not merely tolerating what happens to you, but actively embracing it, not resignation, something fiercer than that. A choice to say, this is my material. This is what I have to work with, and then working with it. He pairs that with a quiet meditation on Memento Mori, the ancient reminder that we are mortal, that time is finite, that the urgency to live well is real. It doesn't read as morbid. It reads as clarifying. By the final pages, I felt the cumulative weight of everything Holiday had built. Overcoming adversity, in his framing, isn't a single heroic moment. It's a practice, a daily orientation toward difficulty that transforms not just outcomes, but character. I keep thinking about what it would look like to actually carry these ideas into daily life, not in grand gestures, but in small, habitual ones. The moment something goes wrong, a project stalls, a relationship strains, a plan collapses, what if the first instinct wasn't to resist or retreat, but to look at the obstacle and ask, what does this make possible? That's what the obstacle is the way quietly installs in you. A different first response. Ryan Holiday draws on 2,000 years of Stoic philosophy not to make you feel better about hardship, but to make you genuinely more capable in the face of it. This is a book that rewards rereading. A book you'll want to return to during the moments when life feels immovable. Because Holiday has a way of reminding you that immovable things have a way of becoming doorways. If you've been looking for a framework, not just inspiration, but an actual internal architecture for resilience, for discipline, for the timeless art of turning trials into triumph, this is it. I finished it more grounded, more clear-eyed, and quietly more prepared for whatever comes next. If this resonated with you, hit like and subscribe to WellReadClub. We break down the books that genuinely change how you think, one story at a time.